Good afternoon. This is going to be the watch list for November 4th, the week of November 4th. And I'm going to start with some stocks I think that could make some bullish moves. And the first one I have up is Wayfair. Now you have the 60-minute on the right and the daily on the left. And it's got a big gap down. You can see the gap down, I believe, was from, let me just check over here. Yeah, it's from earnings. So as you can see from I've already had my gap alerts up. So if it does get over this 85.50, and I think has a chance to run. So 85.50, which is on the hourly, was this candle right here. I think that if we get over it, it could go 88. If it could break over to 88, it could possibly make a run for the gap fill. Now that it's only a few dollars away from the gap resistance, it's a good possibility it could burst right through it. But if it does gap over 85, just make a note that 88 is some resistance and it could reject it. So it's got a potential for at least a $3 move, if not a lot more. So Wayfair is definitely one to keep an eye on for next week. As you can see on the daily, the stochastics is very oversold, and I think it's going to come back. If it's not going to be this week coming up, it's going to be in the next week or two. So I think that will come back. The other one I have is ROKU. ROKU, I probably won't trade until after earnings because the premiums are going to be very expensive, and I'm not trading it. If the premiums are going to be, I'm looking at the options right now, and they are really, really expensive. So I won't be trading it until after the earnings. But I just want to point out that it's in a very critical area on the daily. I mean, it breaks over this 151 area. I mean, it's going to go up to at least 160 real fast. So that's a possibility to watch out for. But if it does happen to break down on the 145, I mean, it could go down to the 121 area. And so I would just be very cautious trading ROKU. Like I said, ROKU's got earnings Wednesday after hours. I probably wouldn't even touch it until after Thursday or the reaction of the earnings. But, if you want to play it, it's at a point on the hourly where, I mean, it could fail at the 145, 144 area, and if it does, it could drop down to the 134 on the hourly where it broke out and fill that gap. But it could also break out too. It is going into earnings. ROKU has a habit of having good earnings, so there could be an earnings run up, and if it does run up over this area right here on the daily, it could get to 160 and fill this gap up here too. So it's really 50-50 shot on ROKU, and like I said, I'm not touching it until after earnings. So the other one I have is BA. Let's see. Now BA is getting interesting on the, it's consolidating right here on the daily, so it looks pretty good. If it can get over this area of like the 348 area right in here, 347 area, I think it's got a shot to get into the 350s and perhaps, make a run up. But that would be all depending on the market conditions this week. Is SPY going to be selling off? Is it going to be continue to make new highs? So BA is very it likes to go with the market, so it's going to be very dependent on where it goes with the market. But I mean, I think that if it can get over this area, the 348, 347 area, I think it's got room to run. So I would definitely keep an eye on that. I mean, it's consolidating right here, and every time it consolidates, it makes a big run or big dump. So I mean, you get it right there, and it drops. I mean, every time it consolidates, I mean, it makes a big run. So it's getting ready to run. So I'd like to watch it over this area of the 347 area for a run. And the next one we have is TXN's, Texas Instruments, I believe. Yeah, it is. And this is, I believe, the gap down is earnings. Let me just check. Yeah, it's earnings. I already have my lines all set up. So it tested the 200 EMA on the daily. So I like it. If it does start getting some momentum. You know, if it can get over the 119 area, I think it's got a shot, you know, to get back up to 121. And if it can clear the 121 area, it's got a shot to fill the gap. But I would just be cautious that, you know, it is, you know, showing oversold on an hourly, so, and it is bouncing off. It's like riding the 30 SMA on the hourly, so there's a chance it could bounce right off it, because sometimes it likes to do that. And if it does, then I would target the 121 area for TXN. And if it does get through that with some momentum, I mean, it could go a lot higher than that. So TXN is definitely one I'll be watching this week. Another one is WDC, which is Western Digital. And let's see. Let's bring up the TOS and see if... Whoops. WDC, not TWC. There we go. Yeah, that gap down. I don't even have this all. Okay, I need to create alerts. So I'm going to create alerts while I'm going through this. Okay, let's see. Sorry. I didn't do this with this stock, so if anybody's wondering what I'm doing, I'm doing my little gap fill thingy. And if you're a member, you know exactly why I'm doing it. There we go. Okay. So I'm watching Texas Instruments right over here, over 54.25. And if it does get over that, I'm looking for it to get back up to, you know, the 57, 58 area for a test of the gap down. So that's what I'm looking at on Western Digital. I want to get over this area right here on the hourly and retest the 58. So I like that, and I also like, well, I can't say I like. I did like McDonald's until they just released news about firing their CEO. Sometimes firing a CEO, if he's really, really bad, can be a good thing, but we'll have to find out how the market reacts tomorrow to it. But the initial reaction was we bought it right here on Friday at the 194 with the intention of it going and breaking over the 198, making a run towards 200. So we'll have to see how the news overnight in the morning works out, see if it's, you know, gonna be bullish or bearish. So it'll be hard to tell. And if it does, you know, bounce over here, that's the target, 198 to 200. If it does break down, I'm gonna get out. And if it gets below 192, it's gonna get really ugly, because I believe the weekly, it's got room down to the 190. Yeah, the 189 area could be a target. I mean, it could depending on how much drop it goes, it could go down to 182. So be very, very cautious if McDonald's doesn't do well tomorrow. So I'll just be watching it. We're already in it for a swing, so the news might screw us, but that's just the way it is. Another one is IBM for a bullish run. I mean, this looks really nice. I mean, I really like the daily, all these inside candles. It's going to make a big run. Just see what it looks like on the earnings perspective. IBM. It was earnings. Yeah, see, it was earnings. I got to get it all set up. I always like to double check the way it gapped down if it was an event or earnings. But yeah, see, it gapped down. It retested it, just like in my latest video lesson, that it retests the gap resistance and it failed. So it's going to make a second run, and if it breaks over that, I think it's going to go for the gap fill. So we'll be watching IBM this week. This will also be if the market conditions are favorable. So those are the ones we'll be watching for a bullish run. Now the bearish ones, I have a lot more, but a lot of them show like divergences. A lot of them are strong, so these are going to be very risky. But first one I have is Tesla. Now Tesla's had a huge run on their earnings, so you know it came back down into the 311 area. So you know, if it does happen to get below like 310, I would like to see it retest the 290 area. So this is what I'll be watching for this week, is if it gets below the 309 area, for it to retest the 289, And if it does get to the 289, is that we'll switch to calls, and because I think that this will act as support, and it will bounce off that. So that's what we'll be looking for on Tesla this week. Now Disney has earnings this week on Thursday after hours, so I won't be playing it. Well, I might play up the premium is not too bad. I'm looking at the premiums right now on the options chain, but the thing that catches my eye is on the hourly. You know, right here, I mean, it's into this area where it finds resistance into the 132, 133 area. But if you look on bring it up on TOS, the thing that caught my attention on TOS is that, I don't have it on this map, but the RSI is really high. It's like 88, close to 90 on this hourly run. So I think that, we'll watch this area very carefully, and if it gets below 132 area, that will grab puts and ride it down. So, but we're going to be very cautious because it could be a strong earnings run, and we'll just be cautious on this one. But I think that, it's got such a huge run on the hourly. I mean, it's going to let out some air, at least come back a little bit. So we'll be watching that. Could come back to 131, to the 131, 132 area. So I'll be watching Disney, but I probably won't play too much of it. Wait for earnings. The other one I have is WeDay. Now, WeDay is coming up into the earnings gap. I believe that's why it gapped down. Let me check on this. No, it wasn't a earnings gap down. It was an event gap down. I'll have to look at it later. But anyways, I'm looking for it to possibly retest this 169 area, this top of the gap, but it could turn before then. So we'll be watching it because it's got a lot of inside candles right here. We'll be watching for it to break down. So I would like to see it get under like 163.50. And if it does, we could see it, come down to the 157 area, 158 on WeDay. I mean, it could still go, and the ideal place to short would be the 169 area where this gap resistance is, but it could fall apart before then. So we got to keep an eye on the on WeDay. And the other one, which is going to be like the health sector. I mean, the health sector is just run rampant. It's found resistance in here. This is CI, and it's found resistance in the 182 area. So that big long wick on the daily shows it could possibly come down, and I really would like this for a short under the 178. So I'll be watching CI under 178 for a short. Now the target would probably be right around, we have to watch the 172 area, then the 170, then 165 would probably be the real strong support for a potential call reversal if it does get to that. So we've been watching the whole health sector. The whole thing is just up way too much. I mean, it's had such a strong run. And see, this is not as high as CI, but it is in heavy resistance right here in the 255 area. So I mean, the options are a little cheaper with CI versus UNH, but we'd be looking for pretty much the same thing, for it to get below the 250 range on the UNH and for it to go down to the 240, 242 area. So that's what we'll be looking at. What's the other one? ANTM is the other insurance. Pretty much the same looking thing, same chart, except it's not as high. Break down to below 267 to get down to the 250 area. So the whole health section we'll be watching. Now I have some last week favorites. Hone. Be watching Hone. I mean, Hone's been just been going crazy. So I mean, I was hoping for a bigger short than what we got the other day, this past week, but it just keeps going and going and going. So we'll see if it gets into the 177 area, and if it does, we might look for puts in that area, and it should let some air out and reverse. So if it doesn't get to the 178 area, 177 area, we'll be looking to short under 175 for a target of 171, like it did on Thursday. Was this Thursday? Yeah, Thursday. And if it does get below 171, I'd be looking for 169, 170 area for a reversal. So we'll be watching home for a short. We also have RTN, which is Raytheon. Now Raytheon had earnings. Let's see, Raytheon. I know the watch list is very big this week, but most of it's because of overextended. Yeah, Raytheon's a strong stock. I'm not gonna be jumping in it. I'm just gonna point it out. I mean, I hate playing short on Raytheon because the thing is it just goes so well. You know, especially when like there's tensions in the Middle East or something. Raytheon supplies all the tanks and the aircraft and a lot of the military stuff. So you don't want to short the Raytheon when there's like military conflict or anything like that. So that's why I don't like shorting it. But if you do want to short it, I mean, it is overextended. It could come down. If it does come down, you know, it probably under the 214 area. You know, under the the daily. It's got, you know, I think ideal would be under the 211, but I mean, that's quite a drop. So the hourly would be better, you know. 214 gets under 214, probably look for the 212 to 211, 210 area. But I'm probably not going to touch it. I'm not even sure why I'm showing it, but you know, you can if you want. Microsoft is another one. Now, Microsoft is up on the earnings. Let me just double check. All the days just blur together. Microsoft. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's from... Earnings was the previous gap. Okay, whatever. This was the earnings gap right here, not this. So, anyways, I think if Microsoft gets under the 142, which is going to fill this gap. So, meaning it's got a bunch of daily inside candles, and if the market is weak under 142, 50 area, grab puts and let it fill that gap. So, like I said, it's going to be very dependent on the market. I mean, if the market's weak, Microsoft's going to be weak, and it's going to fill that gap. And if the market's really weak, it could fill the second gap down to 137. So Microsoft's going to be one I'm really going to watch. The other one is AMZN. Now this stock has been really strong. Let me just check to make sure it hasn't had earnings. No, it did have earnings a couple days ago. Okay, no big deal. So, you know, it's showing, you know, an inside candle in the hourly. I mean, it could keep going, but, you know, if it can happen to get under the 216 area, I think it's got a chance for a quick reversal down to the 213. So it is overextended, and it does need to pull back, and if it does, it could come back and retest the middle Keltner channel. And that's what I'm looking for on AMZN. That's going to be a very risky short because it's been so strong. But I think it's going to let some air out because right here it was consolidating for a while and it broke out. And a lot of the times they will come back and retest the former breakout area, and this is where it broke out, so which is the 205. But I'm not expecting it to go that far. I mean, it can, but if it does break down, I mean, first target's going to be the 213.50 area. So that's what I'm looking for on AMZN. If it does break down. And we have Lilly. Now this one is showing some weakness. It's got the 114.40 area. It's got a lot of resistance in here, and usually when it gets into this area, it does a fake breakout and it just reverses. It gets rejected. So, you know, under the 112 area, I would look for a short to get to the 110, possibly even down to the 109 area. I mean, it could mean on the daily, I mean, the real significant area is the 109. So that's what I would watch for on Lilly. Now I also have GS. Now hopefully, I know I'm going pretty fast. I'm trying to get this done as quick as possible because I have so much. But it's good to write down the levels that I'm talking about, so that way you know if they hit what you need to do. I'm going to miss a lot of these, even if I have alerts, because sometimes if I have too many alerts, I just can't keep up. And if some people are better at multitasking than I am, and they could definitely benefit from the watch list. Now, what did I have? GS. The whole financial sector is way up. So, when the market does get weak, the health sector and the financial sector is going to be the first thing to go. And you have, a trend line right here. Well, not a trend line. Let me get my tools. Yeah, what did my trend line work? As you can see, I don't use right here on GS. I don't use my trend lines that much on E-Trade. So this is an area where it finds a lot of resistance on GS, and if the market is weak, I'll be looking for a short. Now, assuming that it's weak on Monday under 216, under the 217 area, I would look to short if it's weak tomorrow, and the target's to fill the gap at 213. And if it gets under the 211 or 212 area, it's got some room down. Let's see the daily. It's got room to 211.50. Into the 208 area. So, it's overextended, GS, the whole financial sector. So if the market does dump, the first thing to look at, like I said a couple times, is the health sector and the financial. I can't delete it, whatever. The last one I have is UPS. Now, UPS, I'll be watching this one because it's got a head and shoulders on the daily. There's a left shoulder, there's a head, there's a right shoulder, and it's got a lot of resistance right here in the 120 area. On the hourly, it broke out just a little bit, but it could be a fake breakout like it tends to do. It tends to reject this 120 area. It got up over here for a few days and then it just got slammed. So if it does get under, let's say the 118.50 area, I would look to short with the 117 for a possible target, and because that's where it's in the 116 strong, 113, and if it keeps getting it with a lot of weakness, it can get below 111, 112, and fill this gap down to 105. But it's a head and shoulders, and that's if it did play out and break this area, the 112 area. It's got speed to go down to 105. So I would like to see the 105, but I don't want to be too greedy on the targets. But I definitely think the 114 is definitely a good target for on the daily for UPS. So like I said, under 118.50, UPS would probably be a good short, and just go for the target of a small target. We'll keep it 117 area, then down to the 114. So that's going to be the watch list. I know it's very, very big. There's a lot happening, and a lot's going to be very dependent on the market conditions this week. So make sure you write down the tickers, you write down the price points, the price targets, and the areas where you should enter and what I'm looking for, and that should help you this week. Thanks.